Bernice Baker Miracle, the fate of Marilyn Monroe's sister. Bernice looked very much like Marilyn, but for years, no one knew she existed. Even Marilyn herself had no idea she had a half-sister. She never met her growing up. Back then, her name was still Norma Jean Baker. Norma never knew her father. Her mom, Gladys, was also not the best parent. Young Norma spent most of her childhood in foster care. She knew nothing about Gladys's previous family. Gladys married John Baker when she was 15. They had 2 children, Bernice and Robert. But John was abusive, so Gladys left him. Robert was 1, and Bernice was 2 at the time. John took custody of both children. He raised them in Kentucky. Gladys moved on. Bernice and Robert barely even knew her. They only had one photo of her. Norma learned about their existence when she was 12. She wrote 19-year-old Bernice a letter. Soon she received a reply with a photo. Norma replied and attached her own photo as well. Norma asked her sister about living in Kentucky. They signed off with your sister. Norma and Bernice formed a close relationship. The girls bonded over their childhood abandonment. Norma learned that Robert had died from kidney failure at 14. Despite this closeness, the half-sisters never met. This went on for 6 years. Then in 1944, Norma decided to pay Bernice a visit. Both sisters were already married. Norma's husband, James Doherty, allotted her a weekly sum. She spent it all on a train ticket to Detroit, where Bernice now lived. The sisters took a stroll in the city together. They shared stories. Norma revealed that she'd had a dresser drawer for a crib. Bernice showed her a photo of their mother. From then on, they would regularly visit each other. Norma would cut meals for the small family. She liked to serve peas and carrots because they were bright. But a few years later, Norma became Marilyn Monroe. Her career reached new dizzying heights. Marilyn didn't forget Bernice. Career took off. She tried to land her sister a studio job. She'd often pretend that Bernice was her secretary. The more famous Marilyn grew, the more attention her family attracted. Strangers started showing up at Bernice's apartment. Marilyn decided to stop this intrusion and came up with a story. She told the press that she was an orphan. In reality, Bernice was her shoulder to cry on. In 1961, Marilyn underwent cholecystectomy and surgery for endometriosis. She spent weeks hospitalized and severely depressed. Joe DiMaggio, Frank Sinatra, and Bernice took care of her. Bernice was worried about all the pills Marilyn was taking, but her sister would shrug it off, saying,
"I need my sleep."
When Marilyn died, Bernice helped pick out the casket and burial dress. That was the first time she revealed her identity to the world. This was unavoidable at that point. Marilyn Monroe left her $10,000 in her will. In 1994, Bernice published My Sister Marilyn, a memoir of Marilyn Monroe. One passage reads,
"We grew up feeling abandoned, and though both of us were told we were pretty and talented, we still needed courage and strength. We got that from each other."
Bernice Baker Miracle died in 2014, aged 94. She had outlived her famous sister by 52 years.